So what we're going to paint today is this little guy here. And let me just move that a little bit closer. Move you up here. So I'm not going to keep that on screen because I need the room for you guys to see what's going on. And this is a winter scene that I made for my Christmas card this year. And what we're going to be painting for the first part of the demo is we're going to put down some sky. And we're going to put down a few little background trees, which are the ones that are going to blend into the background that you're not going to see so much. And then after they dry, then we're going to put the trees that are on top. So the background and the foreground. And in the end, we'll do the trees that are strongest and then the front and add ourselves a little bit of snow. And one thing we want to keep in mind is the colors that we use up here, we're going to, in some subtle way, reflect down in here. For example, you see a bit of a peachy color up in here. Really carefully, you look in here and there's little subtle highlights of that color in here, in here, and here. And there's a lot of white spots. And those white spots are as important as any color that you have on here. The white spots on your painting will show up really, really bright next to any color. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you want to have any white showing up, and if you end up losing all your white, not an issue. It's just it'll just be a little different, and it just won't be a problem. I'm going to keep a little piece of scrap paper handy so that I can just dab a little bit of color on there so that you can see what color I'm going to be using. I've got myself a little mixing tray that I'm going to put on the side there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix with a bigger brush. So I just picked up a 3/4 inch angled brush. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some peachy color. So for me, I happen to have an orange on my palette, and I'm going to use it. And mine's a transparent orange. And I just happen to, that one works really well for me. Now, if you don't have that, you can take some yellow, which is a Windsor yellow. And I've got some Windsor red and a touch of that. And now I've got orange. There's my transparent orange. So this one's out of the tube. That one I just mixed for my yellow and my red. So either way, you've got orange on your palette if you've got a primary color going. So you don't need to worry about that. And you just want to make it pretty the way you like it. And to test it, to see that you like it, don't test it on your final piece of paper. Test it on a piece of scrap and go, oh yeah, that's the color I want. I like that. And when you're doing your brush work, if you have it so that you have enough paint on it, it'll go on smoothly. But if you find that it starts getting craggly, so let's make you a craggle. So just a dry brush so that it is breaking up, so that you got broken lines and you're not sure why it's not going on smoothly. It's the amount of water on your brush. So if your brush doesn't have enough water, then that's going to happen. Rinse that one away. I don't need that. I'm going to just make sure I have enough of this color before I get started. So I'm going to just do a little bit of mixing and get more of the color I want to start. So I'm going to put some orange over here. Every now and again, I'll start with the wrong word, but hopefully I'll correct it and get the right word out there. So get my peachy color going. And I know I'm going to have some sky color, and I'm going to use some cobalt for that. So I'm just going to dab this away. When I'm mixing up the colors, if you have a bigger brush, it's going to be so much quicker than if you go in and do this 5 times to get one of these. So I'm just trying to figure out the what you can see on the camera. So let's take a little practice. I want you guys to see everything that I see. Okay, so now I'm going to get the cobalt going. So I'm going to mix my cobalt. And I don't need to have a pure clean brush for this, because just looking at my reference, a touch of that orange in the cobalt is not going to hurt it. It'll look nice. So I'm just going to, over here, just mix up some blue and thinking, okay, yeah, that's decent. Put it on my scrap paper. Yep, that's a pretty color. So that looks good. So that's a little wee bit, but because my paper is bigger, this here is not going to be enough color to cover up that sky. So what that means is I need to get more pigment out here. So I'm going to get some more color. and then throw some water down. I'm just dabbing it into my water and just making that more watery. If I want to make that darker on the fly, then I can go into here. And one way to quickly liven up your board before you get going is you can take your spray bottle if you have it. And if you don't, that's no big deal either. So I'm just going to take this. And what I'm going to do is take that spray bottle and I'm going to spritz all the colors so that everybody will have a touch of water in them so they won't be completely dry when I start. Okay. So I'm just going to take that and just go switch all the way around just in case I go into any of these colors. And then they won't be just bone dry when I get going. And I'm not doing enough so that it makes a pool. I don't want a pool because if I do that, then it'll start softening the paint too much. And then it changes the, it changes something on the molecular level. I don't know how to describe it, but it does. So now if I dab in here, it goes in quicker. And that's kind of what I want. And I covered up my painting before I did that, because anytime you spray, expect it's going to go where you don't want it. So be careful of that, or just be aware of that, I should say. When you're doing watercolor, the best thing to do is to start with your light colors and then go into your darker colors. So what I'm going to do here is I've got an 8 round, and I'm going to put down my, let's move that higher so you guys can see. And I'm going to go in and put some sky down. So before I start this particular sky, I'm going to dampen it a little bit, just a little wee spritz. And we're not using fancy paper at all on this particular demo. I probably should have, but I'm not. I want you to just see quickly what can happen. And whenever you put watercolor down, know that it's going to dry a whole lot lighter, a good 10% lighter before it's dry. I mean, when it's dry, I should say. So that's a beautiful color, and I want to darken it just a little bit to get some parts of it a little bit stronger. So I'm just add a little bit more. Okay, so he's better. And now I've already got that blue on the big brush, so I'm going to just use the big brush and just put some color down for the blue. And this is all background stuff. And you can leave some white bits, and the white bits can be clouds. You just have to do them in a way that that looks nice. So I'm just going to put that down, and it's just going to go with the orange and just paper towel. Here it is. So go in and just sort of, now I'm going to just take that and make sure that everything is blended the way I like it. And I'm going to make, because it's soft, sorry, I meant to say wet. And I've got a little fuzzy here. I can either leave that and let it dry, or I can play with it and pick it out. I'm going to decide to leave it and not play with it. Sometimes the act of picking it out can cause more mucking up than it's worth, and it'll be so much less obtrusive if you just leave it alone. Because of where it is, chances are it's not going to be an issue. As you go along, you're going to get these little paint drops, and if you leave that there, this paint here will bleed right up in here at some point when you're not looking, when it's almost drying, and then you'll potentially have this weird, interesting shape called a blossom or a cauliflower. So you want to keep in mind of your drip. So one thing I did is I even taped this down. You can tape them down. I didn't do it on this particular piece. And then I can just hold it on the edge, and then I can dab carefully without going into this side of the paper, just dab on the edge, anything that's extra water. So this here is going to be my background sky. So he's ready to go. As this dries a little bit, I'm going to slowly start adding in the trees. Now, there's a shine on here. I don't know that you can see it. These little granulated bumps is because this is cheaper paper than I thought it was. I sort of picked up the one on top. So this is okay, because this teaches you that the paper that you're using is going to make a difference to what you see. Oh, that's too bad. Anyway, that's the way it is. So the thicker the paper, the less you're going to have that kind of stuff happening. In my case, it's not just a normal granulation, it's inexpensive paper, and it's going to start curling. Curling can be adjusted out later by putting a heavy book on it, or by before it dries, just doing some holding and a little bit of this kind of thing, and that'll help your help uncurl the paper. So when you get curls. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix myself up a green. Now I've got a warm green, which is my sap green. Now on a Zoom call, unfortunately, one of the drawbacks is you won't see perfect color rendition. So I'll just tell you this is a warmer green, and it's sap green. And I've got a cooler green, and my cooler green is a hooker's green. Another cooler green would be Viridian. Anything that's on the bluer tone is your cooler green. Because I'm going to add some trees in the background, I'm going to pick my cooler green, and I'm just going to dab in that brush that had the blue on it, the cobalt. And I'm going to just swiddle that around. Official art term to swiddle is to take your brush and move it back and forth. So I'm swiddling it. My students will understand. And now you guys, my old students, I should say, and now you guys will understand is that that's a word I made up because I like to have fun. And now that's a bright green, and it's really nice. Even when I add the blue to it from that I had from the sky, it's still really nice. Let me see if I can get that closer. Ooh, that's better. Okay. But it's still a little too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tone that down or gray it. So now it's getting a little better with adding more blue. It's still good, but it's still brighter than I want it to be, because this is going to be your background green. This is the important stuff. The colors that we're going to use 3 colors for the greens. It'll be your cool, in my case, a hooker's green, cobalt blue, and burnt sienna. The burnt sienna is your graying factor in everything. So I'm going to take that. The burnt sienna is a reddish brown. So I know I'm going to need a bit more. So I'm going to slowly put a little pool here and then just add it to it. So that might be enough. Ooh, here we go. That's my background color right there. So if you put too much at once, then you don't have the option of gradually seeing it. So I think I can see that pretty good. So that's a beautiful background green. So I'm going to start putting a few trees back in here. So I'm going to put a few of them down and then go from there. Give me 1 second. Oh, actually, before I put those ones, I'm going to put the blue trees. So the ones that are more bluey. So I'm going to leave that alone. But on this end of the pool, I'm going to add more blue to it. So you're going to have a pool of green that's on one side is going to be more blue, and one side is going to be more green. So give me 1 second. So this one here, I just dabbed it into the cobalt, and these trees I'm going to put on first. Okay. So they'll have more blue on it, which means that it'll look like the painting is thrown back. So you'll see it in the background. So and also you'll see me rubbing the paint off. So if I have too much paint on the brush before I get going, then it could bleed more than I want to. One way to do that is just, I know it's going to happen there. One way to do is just use your scrap paper and then just do a little test. And I'm touching that with a really soft hand, so that if I touch it too heavy, then I could end up with a pool that I may not want. If I want it, then I can press harder, but I may not want that. So that's a pretty green that I see there. I don't want you guys to get shadows. Hopefully this is looking good for you guys. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put some trees back in here. As I put my first stroke down, I see that I need to make it a little bit more blue. I just added a bit more blue in there, and I want it more watery because that's a bit heavy. So I'm just going to take that same blue, add more water down here. So add more water, so it's more watery. So this here's more watery, blue, green. So I'm doing the watery. So I'm going to water this down. That's just a little heavy, so I dabbed it with my brush. Sorry, paper towel. And now I'm going to put, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. This is stuff that's coming on from the side that you're not really seeing all that well. That's okay. And I'm just randomly putting down strokes to make little background trees. And I'm leaving spaces. The idea is that when you do your painting, you've got places where you're painting, you're seeing a tree, and then skip some places and make your trees different sizes and different shapes. Some of this stuff will get covered up, and some of it won't, which is just fine. Some of it will appear bigger. So I'm just basically going back and forth with my brush with a really, really light touch on it. It's barely touch, the tip is barely touching down here. And that's kind of, and this one here, I'm going to make it go lower. So this one, I may or may not make it go bigger. We'll see. I'll decide later. I can always add it later. Okay. So I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to have a little bit of a background, something back up in here. We'll see. No, not sure. All of this is playtime. This is playtime, and because I'm only using the reference as a guide, I'm not using it as a, this is exactly the way I want it. I'm playing, so I'm playing and adjusting on the fly. I don't really want that there. Changed my mind. So I'm going to have that just be scrub stuff. So that's just going to be just things that are happening in the background. I'm going to take my background and just and you're a little heavy. Okay, so leave that alone for a second. And go back to here. And paint some more with this. And that's really watery because I dabbed it and I forgot to mush it off, which is okay. And I've got 3 really close in a row, and I don't really want them all so close in the row like that. So this is just going to be background stuff that I'm going to paint on top of it, and it'll look fine. All that stuff's going to work out later, and it'll be really nice. So I'm going to skip my loop, skip my loop, skip my loop, skip my loop, my darling. Put some trees back in here. And just sort of play around. I'm just going to play around and do some more of that stuff back in here. And this stuff will show up as awesome looking trees later. Part of this will show, part of it won't. The idea is you just got random things that are going to try to make them a little bit different. And we're going to put other colors and deeper values on top. And so that we're going to have a variety of things that you can see in a variety that you can. So just, okay. Put something a little different there. I'm going to change my color. I'm going to dip into more of the green look, and I put a few more things in front. And this part wasn't dry, so it's a little bright. And it's a little too green for me, so I'm just going to add, actually going to add some ultra to darken it up quickly. Ultra's darker than cobalt, so I'm just mixing up just a little bit darker. And that's going to look like this. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Well, that's neat. That's a nice color. Sorry if my arm is sticking in the way. Remember to move around with your, now this guy here, I want him to be more of a focal. So what I want to do is make him grow, make him be, he's below that, and I'll put some other colors. And so what I mean is this guy's going to be below the stuff that's up here. So I'm going to make him go into the page a little bit more. And I think I want some more color on him. Can be a little bushy stuff. Slowly going back and across. just picking up colors that were over here and bringing them up over here so that, and because this had paint on it, and just to get that exact same color. Sort of playing around, just moving colors around. And just basically going back and forth with my brush. But when I introduce a color, I want to make sure that there's not only one color in one spot. If I'm going to introduce a color here, it should have a continuity of feeling in trees in other parts of the painting. And that's something that you want to keep in mind as well. Yeah, we might want some that are... Trees in nature are imperfect. So don't have them all perfectly straight, because then you'll have a more natural feel. And that's kind of what you're going for. You want to go for a more natural feel. So what I'm looking at over here is I've added a little bit of more ultra to my green mix, and that ultra really darkened it up quickly, and that was really nice. I like that. Let's see, I'm gonna add a couple more. I want this guy to have a friend, so although this looks nice, maybe I'll make his friend another one in front. So I'm going to give him a friend here that's really close beside him. So, and then this guy's in the background, and this guy's a little bit in the foreground. So now we've got him, and I can just, so they're not exactly the same. And you can just play with things and adjust on the fly. Okay, so that's fun. And I want just a little bit more color over here, just of the dark at the bottom, because he's a little bit too bright green. So I'm just going to add a little bit of color down in here. Okay, and I want at least another one of a deeper color over here. So let's see. Okay, and he looks cute. And we'll give him a friend. And I can adjust these heights later. So I can decide how high I want them to be, and how big I want them to be. So this guy can grow. I mean, he can be. He can be a big mama. Come on, you. He can just make himself known here. He likes. That's fun. Whether the stuff in the background continues showing or not really doesn't matter, because in the end, if you have a variety of different trees that are coming and going in your painting, that's going to give you a really interesting look. And the fact that we're bouncing around with slightly different values and slightly different colors is cool. I'm going to add I want to add a little bit of a warm green in here. I'm just adding a little bit more brown to this mix, just for variety. I don't want everything the same. So I just added a little bit more brown, and I'm just going to add, I want at least a couple more trees that are just that do something different. Okay. Okay. So he can be back in here, and other things are in front of him. That's fine. So he's looking fun. So let's give me some more. He's just a tree that's off to the side, that just sort of peeking through. And we've got that color in here, and we'll add that color back in here somewhere. So he's. And we'll put some more little ones in here. You see that this is how we're going to grow the piece. The idea is that you have different sizes, different shapes. They can be at different planes, further back, closer up. And the more you do that, the more you get a balance of distance. So further away, closer up, that kind of thing. So that's kind of like a trick that artists use, is they make something go lower down in the page, and that makes it closer. And the value can be darker as well. And if the value is darker, then sometimes when I think my brain stops working and I can't paint and talk, but I'm doing my best here. Okay, so we've got a really nice starting with that. Now, the last thing I'm going to do before I stop is I'm going to put some branches in the background. So I'm going to just take a rigger. You can take, I'm using a sword brush in this case. You can take a skinny rigger if you want to. This one's called Scepter Gold, Sable Synthetic Windsor Newton. Doesn't really matter. Anything will do. So I'm going to just take that, mix it up. Have your paint ready. If you don't mix up your paint, you don't mix up your paint with the skinny thing, because that'll take forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mix up a gray. I'm going to take some of my burnt sienna and ultra. That's just what I'm going to do here. And just mix that up. And here's the scrap paper that you see what it's going to look like. So that's just going to be for some distant trees. That's a nice color, so I'm just going to mix up a little bit more. And I don't want it overly thick. I can always thin it out later, or put a darker value on top. So this will be the last thing I do for this particular round. I'm going to test it by making sure it looks good by doing over here. So I can see, is it too thick? Is it too thin? I want the backgrounding ones to be fairly thin, which means I want the paint to be watery, so that when it dries, it'll be a lot lighter than it looks when you start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I did my test squiggle over here, and I'm going to put some branches in here. And when next time we come back, I'm going to show you how to do these branches in the background with my stick, my trusty stick. But this one is the rigger. No, sword, like a rigger. Some pieces can go up off the top, and that's okay. I want to have more off the top stuff. And I've got that color here. I want to just slowly use it a little bit more in various places. And I'm going to add some over on this side too, because I don't want to forget my other side. And I'll add some more later with the stick, so I don't need to do too many, but I'm just showing you one. So I'm just going to do a few more, and then I'll stop the recording. And then you guys can give this part here a go. Okay. We're back to our winter scene, and what I'm going to do now is we're going to paint with sticks. So here's the stick that I started with, and this here is a stick. You can see the side of it, and I've shaped down the stick with a knife to make it slowly go to a reasonable point. And I'm going to dip this part of the paint, this part of the stick, into my paint. But first thing I need to do is to make a pool of paint that's really soupy, really thick, buttery, that's a better word. Okay, so I'm going to get a thick brush. You need a thicker brush to get this started in order to get the paint mixed up quickly. So what I'm going to do is move this out of the way so you can only do, I'm going to mix it up over here. And so I need to take this and really rub the pigment, because you need to get a lot of paint going in here. And I'm going to have I need to mix up more. I'm adding water now because I know I'm going to need a fair bit of this, so that's why I'm adding it. So I'm just going to go back and forth. I'm not worrying about the blue going into the brown, because in this case it's not important. So I want a lot of blue because I want it fairly dark. And then I'm going to go into the brown. And I know this is making it all dark, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be good in the end. So I'm just rubbing that, swiddle it around. And now now it's slowly starting to get thicker. So I can see if I pick it up, it won't really drip much. And I want to get that to a nice thickness. So I'm just going to put it here for now. And I'm going to do some practice stick drawing, not onto the piece right away, because I'm just going to show you how it works. So I've got some scrap paper that I was playing with earlier. I'm going to take my stick and I dip it into or use my brush, either way. Keep that brush handy that I was using. Because I just wanted to get a dark quick. I could have used cobalt and burnt sienna. It would have done the same thing. And I can test it so that over here. So let's just play. I've got some. Oops, sorry. That's me slipping on my chair. So that's not what a tree looks like. That's me slipping on a chair. Okay, let's try that again. Dip him in some more. Actually, the dipping's not working for me so well, so I'm just going to use that thick brush. And then that'll get to paint on it. And as I'm using it more, it's getting lighter. So you want to do the first strokes of your branch for the closer up ones. And you can just go through it again to make them thicker if you want thicker. And so now that's the idea of how to do it. And so when you've got your scene, the winter scene, I'm going to take that scrappy and put them off to the side. So now you've got the idea of what you're doing. I need to keep that close. 1 second. Okay. So in order to have the trees that you're going to do farther away, you want them lighter. And so now I've got that thick paint ready. I want to have a part that's lighter. So all I did was I added some water to it. So I have some parts that are watery. I'm going to brush that onto the stick. And I'm going to add some more trees in the background and see what they look like. And so you're always going back and forth, putting the big brush onto your making that a little bit thicker because I want him, he's more important so I can see him more. Let's play and do some more over here. I'm going to put that one. You're just always going back in and hopefully you can see this okay. I'm trying to get it so that you can see. I'm not sure you can see. Let me try this a little different. Okay. I'm just moving stuff around, so I'm trying to get it so that you can see what I'm doing here. That's better. Okay, now you can see what I'm doing better. That's better. Okay, so now I'm going to put some more trees up in here. Paint my brush. I'm going to put some of that stuff, that twiggy stuff and interesting things over here. Okay. And you go along, you'll see that, let's make him come down here. He can be in front. So he's a little bit big, so that's okay. Let's make him in front a little bit. Okay, this is kind of fun. And I want a few, there's Soupy. I'm just having fun with this because it's looking pretty. I don't want to take up all the room, but I want some of it. I'm going to change up the color because I don't want them all the same. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to add some brown to that. Okay. So I'm just adding brown to my mix so that my trees are not all the same color. I've got some that are down there, and I'm going to put some brown ones in, just so that we have a variety. Let's see. Oh, not enough paint. Paint my stick. I need to paint it. If he doesn't work, you just don't have enough water on him. So I'm just going to add some more water to my. I'm spraying my school of paint, the one that I added more brown to it because it wasn't wet enough. It started to dry too much. So I'm just going to take that and just put some. Oops, too much paint on that. Go away. Okay. I'm just doing random shapes and just for interest. Because background stuff can be. I wouldn't normally do these shapes, but they just kind of please me and they look fun. And that's what art should do. They should tickle a funny bone. Give yourself you should play. Enjoy this. I'll straighten some of these up after. Whoops. That's okay. Let's just dab that. He's a little dark, but let's just turn him into something. Okay, so we're putting a tree there. And that's how that works. So we've got a tree that's going in there. Let's get some paint. We decided we're going to have a little background here. He's turned into a tree. Okay, so now we have another tree back here. As we go along, we're just growing ideas of what's happening in the background. And I'm putting some more of these bluish green trees in the background, so they'll just sort of just, and want to do something on one side, you want to make sure that you've got a similar kind of thing happening over here. I don't want to have, I need to have some sort of bottom here, which means I'm connecting the ground. Okay, so he's looking fun. So let's just work that out a little bit. Okay. So he's grown into this tree here, which is just fine. And then this guy here is going to be a little one. So I'm just going to put a little peak at the top here. Sometimes you see even a little dot at the top can make it look interesting. Okay. And I want him to stand up because I just want some interesting things happening here. I want to slowly grow in. I'm just thinking about my composition as I'm going along. I'm moving on different sides of the painting as I all the time. I'm just sort of going back and forth. I'm finding places where I can add value changes. I'm deciding if I want to put something in front and something behind. That's often just on the fly as you go along. You just want to look at it and think, okay, what's going to happen here? I like what's happening here in a general way, but do I want to add something in front of it? And if I do, how am I going to do it? So right now I'm going to stop that for a second and just give a little wipe to my my palette for a second, and then I'm going to give you some snow. So let me wipe this down. Now I'm wiping it down because I want to have some clean place to pull out my cobalt. And if you want to add cerulean, it's a greenish blue. That's a really pretty snow color as well. I left my orange on my palette, so I'm not wiping that away. I'm using the same, I left that, so I'm going to use the same one. But I know which colors I use to mix, so I can always add it easily. So this is one of the times where you do want to wipe away properly, so I don't really want to have green snow I'm in this moment. So what I've got here is I've got a clean palette except for the orange that I'm going to keep for this guy. I think I'm going to go with a 10. I want to go a bit fatter. So this is a 10 round. And what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of backgroundy snow stuff. So I'm going to get myself a new napkin. So I always hold a napkin. I'm always working like this. I'm always holding a napkin here and the brush here. So I keep everything handy. So I'm going to introduce my background snow, and I want to. I'm thinking in terms of. Oh, I dropped some paint here. Okay, so let's just dab that. I'll turn that into something, and that'll be just fine. I just dropped a dab. I don't really want to do that. Okay, it'll turn into something. It'll be nice. In a few minutes, I'll turn them into something. Okay, so I'm going to mix up. I want a little bit of cerulean. That's pretty in the snow, and cobalt. So just get some mixing going on here. And I'm just dabbing right into the water just to bring that up, because I want to have as much color as I'm going to need here ready. So I'm not remixing color. It's better to have more paint than you need in your mixing tray before you begin painting. So then you could go back in here and connect with that. Now I might add a little bit of, again, I took out the green because I wanted to start fresh and decide what I'm going to do here. I might want to tone these down a little bit. If I want to gray these at all, I take a touch of my burnt sienna and I do it slowly. So I just touch it onto the side, and then that there grays it. So whatever was on my brush is just softening it a little bit, so it's not quite as bright. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just gentling that a wee little bit. And when it looks too dark, I'm going to add some water. That's kind of how I'm going to work this. I'm going to keep my scrap paper handy so that I can refer to it, and just sort of dab the brush onto here when I need to, just to see if it looks like color that I want to. So I want to start with a not so strong a cobalt color. I want to start a bit softer. So let me just play around with the color. And this playing time of color is important. The more that time you spend making sure you got the color that you're looking for to begin with, then you know it's going to be a better piece. So what I did here is I decided I wanted to gentle that with a bit of my orange. So what I did was this here is these colors here dabbed in the my transparent orange, or I don't know, transparent or translucent, I can't remember. Anyway, so that gives me this really, really pretty blue. So that's what I'm going to start with. And I'm going to do that up here. And that there's a really nice color, but I want to have more of it. I want to have it ready. So I'm going to just make sure that pool is just a bit bigger. So I'm just going to not worry about that one and make it bigger here. So that this one, this pool here has a bit of the orange in it. And that's more of the color that I want to start with. Yep, I dabbed it on my board, my practice board, and I like that better. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing, get this out of the way a little bit. So I've got a couple bits of colors ready to play with, and I'm going to need another paintbrush handy to soften up my edges. When you put down your paint, I've got that paint that I put down here, and if I want to soften up the edge, I put that down. I either put it down on damp paper or I soften up one of the edges. So I soften up either the top or the bottom, but just do it consistently throughout. So if I'm going to soften up the bottom, I'm going to put water on that to make it useful. So dab, dab. So, and then if I soften up that bottom before it dries, then I can take that, and then that here can then make the little hills. And you see how it gets softer and softer? And I can go one way, and then I can go the other way. That's got water. Oh, I wanted one with water, so I just picked up a clean brush on the side just so that I can wet one of the edges, so that you're not putting down wet on dry. This is an important function of watercolor. One of the cool things it does is you have the option of wet on wet and wet on dry. So if you paint it directly down like I did that blue thing, it's wet on dry. But now within a short period of time, I can go in and wet one of the edges, and then it'll look really kind of cool. And then now I'm creating my snow. See that these here are two different colors of snow. And if you look at the painting, the original painting here, I've got a variety of colors of snow. So I've got some colors, slightly different colors as I go along. So, and then this here is my swooping the brush along. So actually, I'm thinking, I'm not even sure this is big enough. I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to get a bigger brush because this one here is, I want to travel further. So I'm going to pick up so it's got to be a 12. Yeah, a 12. So I'm just going to drop him aside because I want to travel a bigger area quicker. So I'm going to pick up that 12 round instead. So he's going to be my wet dragging across the page thing. Now you can do it two ways. One is you can take your spray bottle and you can spray it first. So I'm going to do a practice thing of spraying here. So I'm going to spray that. And now I'm going to put some paint down. And that just softens up some of the paint. So wherever the water bottle hit, it's glistening and making a soft line. But you don't want to spritz it too much if you're going to do that. So you really want to be careful with that. In this particular case, I'm not going to recommend that because I want to keep more control. I see that what's happening here is it's giving me too much bleed in different directions, and it's not giving me the look I want for this exact purpose. So that one I'm going to say, let's not do that spray bottle in this case, and just use have the water ready on that number 12 round, which is my big one, and have the 10 round ready with the pigment that I've already got here. And if I need to make it bigger, I can make the pool bigger. I can get ready on that. And if it's too dark, add more water to lighten it up. So I'm going to give myself go in here, and I'm going to give myself I'm going to just be low and just sort of, I'm creating hills as I go around. And I don't want to go too far before I soften that edge. So I'm going to soften that edge by just touching the bottom of it. And touching the bottom of it, and I'm just creating little mounds, little vignettes of where I may put little scrubby things, like just little. I'll put another color up in there, and I'm going to go over here and do the same thing and add some more color over here somewhere. I'm going to
cerulean blue,
and add some water underneath, and just sometimes I just what happened there? Must have had a strength of water on that one, paint on there, and it just sort of did something I didn't expect, but that's okay. That's painting. Oops, I know what happened. I dabbed my brush in something I didn't want to do. But that's okay. I'm just going to take that, and with water, I'm just going to take it and just, I want to change up the color. I don't want to keep that same color. I want to make some variety of colors. So that's okay if it does that. I'm just going to take it and just soften it. I'm just softening, and I'm just going to play with it till it feels like it's going to do. And this here's the big brush that had the so you see you're creating back and forth little bits of things. I want to be careful not to paint with the water one. I want to paint with the thicker one. So let's get some more movement over here and put some color down. And I want to add some green to that. I'm going to take my hookers and my burnt sienna, because hookers is on its own is too bright, and I'm going to gentle it with some burnt sienna. And I'm going to add some greenery right in here, and it's just all going to blur together. So right on top of here, I'm going to put some foreground trees, and they're all going to blend into that little bit that I put here. And I don't want them too fancy, but I just want them to just and I'm just playing a little bit, just making things that are interesting. Oh, here I am painting with the round. So I forget which brush is in my hand, because I can make anything work. This is I didn't mean to hold this giant thing to make these little wee guys. You shouldn't normally do that. That was just an accident. Okay, so let's just put some more greenery. This stuff here is going to be behind the it's going to just be shrubbery stuff. And this shrubbery stuff is really watery, so it's gonna soften up. And I'm gonna change up some colors a little bit as well. And you can't tell this, but it's because it's so watery, it's not going to stay that dark. It's really going to lighten up. And I might even just give it a little help. Aha. Perfect. Ah, it looks good. All right. Okay, so that's going to be the background stuff when I do the, let's do some more of that while I got it going. That looks cool. And we'll do a couple up in here, just. I'm just playing, making marks that will look like something sticking out of the snow, or a potential little tree trying to grow, but he's all by himself. And I might even have some guy back here that's just playing with that. I'm going to change up this color because I don't want that too much in here. I'm going to take that, water my brush, just make it watery, and just give that a little bit of a soften. And just soften. I'm just playing with the colors just to get a feeling. The idea is that when you're creating something, I'm going to add some brown in here because it's just too much green, so that I'm not having all the same colors everywhere. While that's drying, it can take a little color, a little dabbing of another color, and that's kind of cool. As I'm seeing this, I want to make just a little extra value up in here. Just dance around with your brush. I'm basically creating a little dance with my brush. And before I go anywhere, I want to get some stick action going in here. This is okay for the background here. Oh, I know I was going to add some more that other, what's it called? Snow. That's the word. Okay, let's get some more snow in here. So I sometimes get sidetracked, and I don't want to get fully sidetracked. Okay, so I'm going to add some more orange. And I'm going to just let that get and I just think that orange would be nice in the background here. So I'm just going to add some more orange up over here. I'm going to paint behind it. This is what you do when you paint. You just sort of play with it. See your colors, see how they're looking, and just seeing what you need to do in order to adjust on the fly. Okay, so let's get some more of that light, just a light bit of orange. And just play with them a little bit. In this case, I'm going to soften him. And let's put some more colors down in here and once more. As I get lower to the bottom, I'm going to, oopsie, trying to just stick your finger in your work. It's better without a finger mark. You can tape them down, and I didn't do it here, but if you're going to tape your work down, it's important to remember that you don't take up too much space. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to show you. Oops, hating myself. Too much space on your board. So I wouldn't tape this far in. Tape just a wee bit in. And if you do that, well, this is really good information. If you take it, I'll just actually I can tape up here very carefully, and then that'll give you. Okay, so you guys can see that. So what I've done is I've put a little piece of tape up in here, and I'm not covering up too much of my paper. And when you take it off, you need to remember to go really, really, really slowly and watch that the paper doesn't tear. If you see the paper starting to tear, go from the other end and just slowly, as you do it, bend it slowly, like towards the paper, instead of just going, rip it, go really slowly, and that way you'll help protect your piece from getting torn, because watercolor paper is paper, and it can break, and you don't want to do that. So now I've got my piece. It's I don't have to stick my finger in it anymore. So I'm just going to make some stuff on the bottom, get some cobalt going and have that on the bottom. Let me just move this up for you. Oh, no, I taped it in the wrong place. I gotta tape higher. Yep, better. Okay. Tape myself out of the screen. That's not helpful. Better. There we go. Okay, so let's get some cobalt going. I'm going to add some stronger color at the bottom. And I'm not going to use pure cobalt. I'm gentling it with a bit of green, just whatever green you're using, and a bit of brown to gray it just slightly until I get a color that I'm happy with. And if I put it down and don't like it, just either dab it with your brush or dab it with your paper rather, or a thirsty brush. Okay, so I just put this on. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good color. Okay, and as I go along, I can decide what I need to soften up. So if I'm going to soften up down here, if I want to soften up anywhere. It's not working for me yet, but that's the way it goes. You sit and play with it until it's does what you want it to do, or close enough. And you can always dab if you need to, but don't dab when you've got a big thing of paint in your thing. Put that on the inside and then dab. Oh dear. That's cute. Okay, so I'm gonna put my, oh, that's better stroke. Just wasn't happy with this color in here, so I'm just gonna adjust it a little bit. Just play with things till they look the way you want them to look, or they make you happy. Either one. Sometimes things work out the first time around, sometimes they don't. And that's normal. So we don't worry about that. I'm just playing because I'm not overly happy with how it looks, but let's just bring this together and see if it makes it, if it corrects it. So he's not my best snow. I'm not overly happy with that, but it's important to know it's only paper. Does not have to be perfect every time. That's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do some stick trees, and then I'm going to stop us. So give me a second to add some more brown to this deep pool of paint that we have here. So I'm going to add more brown because I want I'm going to put it down to do that. It's too hard to hold. I'm going to refresh some of that paint that I had down here earlier because it had dried. So I'm going to add some brown to that mix. Swiggle it around. And remember, sometimes when something doesn't really look exactly the way you plan to at the beginning, sometimes if you just keep going, you find that you can bring it back. You never know. So let's not lose faith. It may look nice in the end. So I'm painting my stick. And I'll just go back and forth with my stick, and I'm going to make my focal point, which I've left room for, and I want to put them over here. Oh, I say that, and I might change my mind and put it over here. Might just do that. Okay. I'm just painting in my head. Okay, new plan. Stick's gonna go, tree's gonna go on the other side. And I'm just gonna have to go back and forth with painting my stick. And that'll just be a back and forth thing. Now I want that to stand out more from the one in front, which means I'm gonna have to brown it more, which means I need to lighten it up. So I'm just gonna take this and put a fair bit more brown in it so that it stands out from the blackish one that's in the background. And then my first pass on that stick told me that it's too similar in color. So I'm adding noticeably more brown. So this will be mostly brown, okay? And now when I do it again, I can go right on top, and that will change it. And then the more strokes I do, the browner you're gonna see it. So some of it will be darker. There, now he's gonna be, oh, that's nice. That's cool. Hopefully you can see that. And then when I start doing, just go back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't last all that long, so it's just, I'm just painting on the stick. So he's gonna have a friend. This will be a grouping. It's worth doing all this back and forth thing because truly it's just, I'm just gonna have a grouping of trees over here because that's gonna be my focal, and I'll put the berries together from this grouping. Oh, this is fun, I'm liking this. And one of them I'm gonna have go off the page. And I can angle my stick. My stick doesn't have to be straight to a point. It can be angled, so I can hold it in different angles. Okay, this is good. I'm liking this. So if you remember, if he's going to be that big, I need to have a trunk that's going to support him. Keep making sure that what's happening down here is going to support what's happening up there. Some of these branches can change which one's doing the supporting, so that could change. And he can go off the page. When you have things going off the page, that's a really fun way to cool. So this is my grouping of my trees is coming, and stuff is coming from over here. So I'm going to play with this, and this is cool. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just looking at it and thinking about it. Cool. That's looking neat. Okay, so now I'm going to take my orange, straight orange, and I'm going to get rid of this a little bit. Wipe that down a bit. And I'm just going to mix up some orange, and I'm going to paint my stick with orange. So all I'm doing is getting the fat brush to get it out quicker in orange. And if I need to dip into the the brown, I will, but for now I want more of a glow, so I'm going to do some glow sticks. I'm making glow sticks, so I'm going to just dab off some of that brown. Get a new paper towel. Coming close to a break on this one, so paint my stick and hope I have enough pigment on here. I might not. I didn't do it too thick. So, oh yeah, starting. Yay. Okay, so now the idea is that when you're doing this kind of outdoor greenery stuff, that you have that things are random. Like they're not going to be perfect. They shouldn't be perfect. I'll put a base for this stuff later. And I've got a little pool here so he can turn into something, and that paint is on here so it can be dragged down. And up and over. So I'm just playing. So right here, I'm just taking my stick and I'm just playing. Little dots, and the little dots are going to be just random things that can kind of like connect it a little bit. Just stuff, just scrubbery stuff that's happening that will turn into something, and I'll have to play with that a little bit. And if I don't like it and I want to stop, I just sort of do a little dab and it's softer, and now it's better. Okay, so now it's just, I want to have some more. Careful, I have too many sideways, horizontal stuff. I want to have more randomy things. I'm going to go back to the brush because I want to put in some other shapes that I'm not getting with that stick. So let me just get my other brush going with paint. And I'll get some green in here. So I'm just mixing up a soft green with some green and brown and my palette paint. And put it on here and see if it looks like the color. Yeah, that's just some green shrubbery stuff. So I'm just going to take back to my 8 and just sort of, I just want to put some stuff that's happening in the bottom so that these guys have somewhere to anchor from. Just soften that bottom. And yes, our finger does work. You know, when I'm doing this, I want to go in here with the rigger actually. And I think I want him to be off the page, like come in from the side. And I'm thinking that at this point with what I want to do, I want to go in, I'm just putting some greenery bottom, something that the shrubberies are coming from. And I'm going to, so that's kind of cool. So I'm just growing the stuff in my head, just sorry, I hope you don't mind I'm painting with my finger, but it just kind of feels like the right thing to do at this point. Okay, so he's fine. I want to go back to my sword brush because I want to do some. I want to throw in some points, and I do my best point work with a rigger. So I've got a pool of paint. I'm going to dip it into the greenish brown stuff. It looks like this, and I'm going to actually put more brown on that one. Okay, and I want to be careful. I don't want to have too much water on that, too much pigment on that. So I'm just going to go in and make some. I'm painting in my head before it goes on the piece. Where would I want it? What's it going to look like? I'm thinking it all through before it happens. too much pigment on my, too much paint on my brush. I'm just going to dab some of it off. Dab some of it off. There, that's better. Want it softer. I'm just trying, I'm playing here, making a little extra grouping. And from here, we'll have some more interest. Okay, a few more. I'm just playing. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to take it and add a little bit of blue at the bottom before I forget. So I'm just taking and just adding a little bit of blue. So that's just, you had a little bit of, if you add a little bit of blue around your grouping, then it makes it look like it's coming from something, because it will give it a little bit of a shadow. So we have a little bit of blue around there. I'm just going to add just a little bit more. And a little bit over here. Just do it till it sort of feels like it's. And as I've got this blue out, I need to add some blue to here to give him to anchor the pieces that I've got in here, because these weren't there before, so I didn't have the. I'm just making it feel cohesive. Again, this is me painting painting in my mind before it happens. Okay. Now I go into my pure. Last thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into my pure. I need to spray that. Give me a second. And we can have a few that are up in. And a few hiding in peaks and valleys inside things. Now I'll play with this later and adjust them, but for now, I might make some bigger, some smaller. But the idea is that you have the feeling that you're going for. And I can even put some red just for interest, so that the light is shining on it and it's making it more glowy, which is kind of fun. And that's just a bit too much, so we soften that, and now he just gives a little bit of a red light. So I kind of like that. So I'm just going to leave that, and I'm going to add a little bit of red in here, just because I think that's looking nice, and a little bit that's back in here. I'm painting behind carefully because this year's wet. I can see it wet, but I like that look back in there. So that's kind of neat. Cool. Okay, you're getting somewhere. This is looking fun. I can go in and do other things over here, but for now, I'm just adding a little bit of that the red that's on my brush, and just playing a little bit more. So I get, as I go along, I just play and see how things are looking. Okay, cool. Got my brush here. Just a little bit of red on the brush, just a little bit of a highlight, and I want. Okay, I think we're good to stop for now. So that's my adjusted stick tree. I'm going to stop my recording for now and move on.